Have you ever had a friend who acts supportive, but you can tell they totally trip you if it meant they got ahead? Like they'll clap for you, but there's this little something in their tone that makes you question if they actually mean it. They love you, just not too much. They want you to be happy, but not happier. They'll gas you up in person, but go completely quiet when you're not in the room. Or worse, they'll talk about you when you're not in the room. It's funny how you start to notice all the more once you stop shrinking. When you start feeling confident or things start going right for you, that's when the energy changes, right? They start joking differently. Like every compliment has like a side of shade. And you're sitting there like, wait a minute, is this love or is this low key like hate competition? Because if I have to decode your tone to know how you feel about me, we're not friends. I think the hardest part is realizing how normal it has truly become to keep people around who don't actually root for us or honestly just even like us. We tell ourselves it's not that deep or that's just how they are. But if you leave every conversation feeling smaller, it is that deep. Because being around fake energy will have you doubting your wins, questioning your gut, apologizing for being happy. Like, what is that? And honestly, I'm at a point in my life, I don't want friendships that make me have to shrink to stay liked. At this point, I just want peace, not paranoia. I want friends who clap when I win, not cringe and look at it like it's like competition for them. The kind of people who don't compete with me because they're too busy building their own shit. The ones who actually mean I'm proud of you because life's too short to keep pretending people are genuine when they keep proving that they're not. And honestly, we've all had a moment where the mask slips, right? The bestie energy starts feeling weird, and you catch like that one comment that makes your stomach just like drop. You replay it later once you're by yourself, and you're like, did they honestly really say that out loud when I was there? Yeah, they did. Welcome back to Chasing Stability. And today we're talking about fake friends, the weird energy, and that subtle competition nobody wants to admit is happening all around us. Because if it's not genuine support, not real loyalty, and not peace, I mean, honestly, sis, it's just giving frenemy. That's it. Just frenemy. And who wants that? Honestly. I think it's wild how your body picks up on these kind of shifts in your friendships way before your mind ever really puts two and two together. Like you'll laugh at the joke, you'll keep the conversation going, but deep down, something feels off. You don't know what it is quite yet, but your energy and everything around you sure does. And honestly, I don't want friends who make me question whether we're friends or not, because that constant confusion, that walking on eggshells feeling starts making your body tense just a little. Then the excitement you usually feel around them just isn't there anymore. It's like your intuition hits you with this warning sign. Something in you is just like, hey, this isn't a safe place for us anymore, and we need to leave. And you try to brush it off at first. You tell yourself that like you're projecting or something along those lines. But the truth is, that's the first sign. The shift doesn't start with words, it starts with that energy between two friends. Because once you feel that shift, you can't unfeel it. You start noticing it in all the small stuff that you see all the time, too. the way they suddenly have a problem with everything that you do, the shade disguised as advice, the jokes that sound more like undercuts and jabs, the non existent invitations that they forgot to tell you about. You tell them some good news, and instead of being happy for you, they're like, oh, wow, that must be so nice. And you laugh it off in the moment, but later you're like, wait, why did that sound like straight bitterness? Like I didn't earn what I have, or I don't deserve it in some way. That's the part nobody talks about, how fake energy hides behind fake love. They'll still call you bestie, they'll still comment with hearts, but it starts feeling performative. Like they're doing the bare minimum of the friendship so they can still say that they didn't do anything wrong. And it's funny because the Bible literally warns us about this kind of thing. It says something around these lines: enemies disguise themselves with their lips, but in their hearts, they harbor deceit. That verse hits so much different when you've dealt with fake love, because that's exactly what it feels like: kindness with an agenda. And you start realizing the version of you they liked the most was the one who wasn't doing so well. Sit with that for a second. The one who needed their validation, the one who didn't make them look at themselves, that's the one that they like. Hmm. It's crazy how people will stay in your life just to study you, not to cheer for you, not to grow with you, just to make sure you don't get too far ahead of them. And the second that you do, that's when the energy shifts again. And suddenly everything's different now, or you've changed. Like growth was supposed to come with an apology from you. Like, God forbid you better yourself. But here's the truth and how I truly feel: it's not my job to stay small anymore just so someone else can feel comfortable. And trust me, I have done that a lot in my life. You see, if my confidence makes you uncomfortable, that's not a me problem. That's a you problem. You need to go do your own healing to fix it. Because real friends don't flinch when you shine. They pull up a chair and they clap so much louder than everyone else in the room. And honestly, that's when it kind of like clicks into the puzzle pieces, right? That moment when you finally stop taking it personal and start taking it as proof and just step back. Because people with good hearts always assume they did something wrong. But sometimes it's not that deep. You didn't do anything. Sometimes they just don't like you anymore because they can't compete with the version of you that finally likes yourself. That's really shitty, but it's so true. So, yeah, when the energy changes, believe it, you don't need a falling out or some dramatic goodbye. The distance is the answer to the question, are we still friends? Because the second someone starts throwing shade instead of support, that's when you stop calling it friendship and start calling it what it is. So, you might be wondering how you even decide if it's shade or support, because honestly, it does get hard to spot the real and the fake sometimes. Like, not everyone's walking around throwing obvious hate around, right? Some people are just really good at being fake nice. They'll compliment you with one hand and then completely undercut you with the other. And I know if you're listening to this episode, you know a person or the type, and they're already in your head. The I see you doing big things, friend, but their tone sounds like they can't believe you're doing it. Or the ones who say you've changed like it's an insult instead of a compliment. Or the classic, I mean, I could never post like that, but you're so confident for doing it. No, sis. That's not encouragement anymore. That's a backhand. Real support doesn't sound like confusion. It doesn't come with a side eye to the friend beside them or a comment they wouldn't say to your face or energy that makes you question if they actually support you, hell, if they even like you, right? When it's genuine, you feel it. Because all those comments that I just laid out can also be said by someone who actually is happy for you. You know when there's a difference. And if you're struggling to make that distinction, I don't think you probably truly are. You just don't want to admit that maybe someone who you love and have loved for so long isn't actually for you anymore. When it's real, it feels warm and safe and effortless. They make you feel good for whatever it is they're complimenting, not making you feel like, should I be doing this? When it's fake, though, it's loud when it needs attention and silent when it matters most. Let me explain that a little better. If they want credit for being there or making sure it's supporting because someone is or something is loud about it, it wouldn't want to stand alone against everyone else. But when it's something that you need from them, like help with a project or something like that, they're nowhere to be found. They never show up unless they get recognition for it. Okay. So they're not going to be there if they're not getting credit. Right. And sometimes it's not even what they say, it's what they don't say. You'll post something you're so proud of, they'll watch it, you'll see it, you'll know, and they won't like it or comment. They'll ask how things are going, but if you're good and have fun stuff to share, they don't want the answer. They'll tell you they're proud of you, but won't really be sure about it in their tone. Here's how I started telling the difference. Real support celebrates you when there's nothing in it for them. It's consistent, it's honest, it doesn't shrink when you grow. Shade, on the other hand, always comes with ego. It wants you winning, but just not too much. So if you ever find yourself wondering, was that love or low key jealousy? Ask yourself how you feel after the conversation. Do you feel full or do you feel small and worthless? Because real friendship fills your cup. Fake support drains you out like they're a blood sucking animal, slowly and with a smile. Another way you can locate a fake friend is when everything is competitive. Like, I know if you're listening again to this podcast, in your life, you have noticed how some people turn everything into a scoreboard. Like, you can't even tell them something good without it turning into a subtle competition. You say, I finally started therapy with somebody that I really enjoy talking to. And suddenly they're like, oh, yeah, I've been in therapy for years. You say, I'm finally feeling better. And they're like, yeah, well, I've just been focusing on my piece. Like, okay, Karen, I wasn't trying to compete for the healthiest mental state award. I was just talking to my friend who I thought would be happy for me. That's how it starts. Little comments that sound normal, but feel just like a little bit off and weird. You share something you're proud of, and they can't just be happy for you. They have to match it or top it or twist it. And it's wild how quick friendship can shift from we're in this together to you're not beating me. Comparison is such a thief of friendship because it changes the whole dynamic. Instead of being two people growing next to each other, it becomes this silent race. Who's happier? Who's doing it better? Who's glowing up faster? And what's crazy is half the time you don't even realize that you've entered the race. You just started healing and somehow that triggered something in them. It's like your growth became a mirror they didn't want to look into. And suddenly they're not competing for fun, they're competing for comfort. Because when people haven't dealt with their own insecurities, your peace looks like a threat to them. Your progress looks like pressure. And instead of asking how you did it, they just start trying to one up you or undercut you. But here's the truth: real friends don't compete, they celebrate, they cheer, they learn from you. They don't see your wins as their loss, they see it as proof that good things are possible for both of you and everyone around. So, if you ever find yourself in a friendship that feels like a game you didn't sign up to play, just know it's not you. It's someone who confused partnership with rivalry. And that's not friendship energy. That's their ego in like a completely different disguise. And maybe that's why I started seeing friendships so differently after I got sick. Because when life slows down, you start noticing who's really standing beside you and who was just standing near you for the photos. When I got sick, everything got super quiet. My plans, my social life, my body, all the things. And in that silence, I started hearing people's intentions a little louder. Some friends stepped up in ways I didn't expect. They checked in, they stayed, they showed grace. Others disappeared without saying one word. And that's when I realized illness has a way of stripping away my ego so I could see the performance and people. It exposes who was clapping because they cared versus who was clapping because they wanted to be seen clapping. It's humbling, truthfully. It really is. You start to see how fragile certain connections were once the convenience disappears. But it also made me softer in a way because it showed me how much love really does matter and how easy it is to take it for granted when everything is fine in your life. That season taught me that friendship isn't about who's around for the highlight reel. It's about who can handle that in between space with you, who can sit in the silence, who can sit in really the awfulness of life. And I know that personally because I haven't always been the friend that I am now. There were times when my ego was way too loud. I might not have meant it to be that way, but I've had those moments where someone else's win made me shrink a little or made me jealous in the worst kind of way. Where instead of being extremely happy for them, I compared myself to them instead. Not because I didn't love them, but because I didn't love where I was. And that's the part right there that most people won't admit. Okay. Sometimes it's not that this friend is like the worst person ever or a bad friend. They're just an insecure one. They're clapping, but they're also wondering, why not me? They're happy for you, but it hits something inside of them that still feels behind. And if you don't catch it early, that turns into this like quiet resentment. Not because they did anything wrong, but because they started showing you what healing looks like. I've been that friend, okay? The one who didn't realize how my own jealousy was showing up as undercutting comments or dry energy. I wouldn't have realized what I had done until after I had said it. Like that was just my ego and I couldn't understand. But I'll say this: once you face that version of yourself, it changes everything. Okay. You start realizing how heavy comparison really is and how much you've been holding it. It's exhausting trying to measure yourself against someone who's literally not even in your same lane. I mean, not even on the same highway. Now that I've learned to drop the ego and actually celebrate people, it feels lighter. I don't feel like I'm falling behind as much anymore because I finally get it. Because your success doesn't take away from mine. Okay. There's no shortage of joy in this world, no scarcity in growth. Everyone can win and everyone can glow and deserves to. And if you're listening to this and realizing that you've been that friend before, the one who struggles to clap sometimes, that doesn't make you a bad person at all. It makes you pretty human. It just means you've got healing to do. And that's okay because we all have healing to do in some way, shape, or form. Because when you finally work on yourself, your confidence, your purpose, your peace, you stop seeing other people as competition. You just start seeing them as proof, like proof of everything you can also accomplish if you just push yourself. That's good type of using of that energy. Now, with that being said, it's also not your job to stay around and get shit on by a friend who isn't realizing that they need to heal or one who can't ever hear that they need to. Okay. You're never going to change someone who doesn't see they need to change. And that goes for everyone, relationships, family, situationships, whatever. But let's stay here because in friendship, that lesson hits so different. It's so hard when you care about someone, but every time you're around them, you leave feeling like shit. You can love someone deeply and still have to admit they're not good for your peace right now in this moment, especially if they're in a season of denial, pretending there's nothing wrong while projecting all their unhealed shit onto everyone else in the room. You can't keep trying to make people see themselves if they're committed to staying blind. That's not loyalty. That's your self abandonment. You shouldn't have to keep explaining basic respect or why certain jokes aren't funny or why their passive aggression is starting to feel like a personality trait. At some point, you just stop explaining and start removing yourself from that situation. And it doesn't have to be dramatic, right? That kind of sounded dramatic. Sometimes it's just space, like just regular space, less access, less energy, less explaining, because you can love people from a distance and still root for them. You just don't have to like let their chaos keep touching you. Outgrowing people doesn't always mean you're better than them or whatever people think. It just means you're finally being better to yourself. And maybe they'll get there one day. Maybe they'll realize what they lost, but your healing can't be put on pause waiting for somebody else to understand their own going on in their head. You can't hold yourself hostage in friendships where peace has already left the room. That's just not it. Okay. And the older that I get, the more that I realize we don't really lose friends. We just learn who the real ones are. Because when you're younger, friendships feel like a numbers game. It's all about who you hang out with, who tags you in pictures, who talks to you every day, like who you hang out with every day. But the older you get, the smaller your circle usually gets. And honestly, that's how it's supposed to be, I think, at least. At this stage, it's not about who's been around the longest, it's about who's growing with me, who's actually matching my energy. Because friendship isn't just we've known each other forever or like we've been together forever. We still show up for each other is how it's supposed to be. And that's where it gets tricky, in my opinion, because not everyone grows with you. Some people stay stuck in old habits, old gossip, old insecurities, and you start realizing that the connection you once had was with the version of yourself that doesn't really exist anymore. Well, that's not betrayal. That's just evolution at its finest. And it takes maturity to not force something that's no longer aligned. Because at this point, peace is worth more than popularity. And if the effort and the energy and the respect isn't mutual, then honestly, you're better off sitting alone or spending time with your family. It's not bitterness, it's just boundaries. You stop chasing friends and start building connections. You stop needing a crowd to see you and start appreciating the few who make you feel safe no matter what. Because you'll realize you didn't lose them, you just truly found you, if that makes sense. But you know what else nobody tells you about choosing that piece of growing and separating? It's extremely lonely. Like you finally do the healthy thing and you walk away from the drama and the fake love and the people who keep showing you who they truly are. And for the first time in a long time, maybe it's just you. No noise, no chaos, no one draining your energy, but also there's no one there. And that quiet can be super uncomfortable because even when the friendship was toxic, just like the relationships have been, they filled the space. And feeling alone sucks. But being around friends who aren't really your friends, that's lonelier than being alone ever will be. Because at least when you're alone, you're not performing. You're not questioning. You're not wondering if someone's secretly resenting you. You're just safe. And now that you're not over explaining and over apologizing or over giving, it's like you don't even know what to do with the silence. Nobody really talks about that part. The infamous in between space, the space after letting go, but before finding new people who actually get the new version of you. It's peaceful, but it's also extremely isolating because once you start healing, your standards change, and so does your circle. Making new friends as an adult is already hard, but when your whole perspective on life has also shifted with that growth, when you see the world differently or feel things deeper or value peace more than attention, like everything about your perspective of life has changed, that's when it hits. The pool gets extremely small. You're not looking for let's go out energy anymore. You're looking for let's grow together energy. And that takes time. So, yes, it's very quiet right now, but that quiet isn't empty. It's just the current phase. It's you becoming someone your future friends are going to thank for being there. And the ones who are meant for you, they'll match that piece, not disturb it. Okay. They'll come with you or they'll fall back, whichever. You know, I think what happens after you've been through enough of this kind of situation, like the fake friends, the quiet competition, the shade dressed as support, all the shit talking, you stop questioning what you're feeling and you start realizing that your energy's been trying to protect you the whole entire time. Because looking back, I kind of always knew who really had my back and who didn't. The little moments that didn't sit right, right? The laughs that felt kind of forced, or the I love you that didn't sound like love. The jokes made about you, not with you. my body clocked it before my brain ever wanted to admit it, because discernment isn't loud, it's whispers. It's not going to beg for your attention or scream the truth at you like with these flashing lights. It's going to nudge you gently and wait for you to listen. And the more you start trusting that still small voice, the one that says something's off here, the less you'll need chaos to teach you what peace already knew. But I get it. I used to gaslight myself out of like all of that truth too. Tell myself I was being too sensitive or I was overreacting. I was reading too deep into it. That joke wasn't about me. And every single time, my gut had been right. So now I trust it. If the energy's off, I don't argue with it anymore. I don't chase clarity where there's already confusion. I don't explain my boundaries to people who keep crossing them. Okay. And I don't apologize for expecting my friends to be real friends, the kind that feel steady and warm and mutual. That's just normal friendship. It's just known. Because when you start trusting energy again, that like you feel something's off, you realize peace isn't something you find. It's something that you have had the whole time and it's been protecting you. And protecting yourself means letting stuff go that disturbs you. Okay. I think we all hit that point eventually, the one where you stop needing everyone to be real with you and you just decide you'll be real with yourself. You start paying attention to what your body feels around certain people, what your heart does when their name pops up, because energy doesn't lie. It just doesn't. It speaks in those really small silences and it speaks in the hesitations. It speaks in the way you leave a conversation feeling smaller instead of seen. And maybe that's the thought I'll leave with you today. If you're here, you've probably got a certain friend in mind or maybe a couple. But let's be real. You already know who's for you. You've probably known for a while. You don't need more proof. You just need more peace and confidence in yourself. Trust the pull that leads you toward calm. Trust the resistance that tells you something's off. And most of all, trust your intuition isn't trying to scare you, it's trying to save you. Because at this stage of life, we're not forcing friendships to fit in anymore. We're protecting energy that finally feels like home. Can I get an amen? I appreciate you all so much for coming. Thank you so much for listening today and being here. If this episode hit a nerve, it's probably because you've felt it too. That shift, that weird energy, that moment you realize peace costs people sometimes. But I hope you walk away from this one trusting yourself just a little bit more, trusting what you feel and not waiting for someone else to confirm. If this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Tag the show, leave a review, or just send it to your group chat, whatever you need to do. You never know who is questioning the same kind of friendship situation that you are right now. I love you all so much. This is Chasing Stability, and I will meet you in the in between next Tuesday.